My childhood friend set me up to fail at my new job just to get ahead. When I caught her, she said, "That's how you play the game." But my revenge had her fired and losing her dream career. I never thought I'd be telling this story, but here I am. My name's Janelle Price, 42, born and raised in Peoria, Illinois. Never did I think I'd be sharing the story of how I took down the friend I'd known almost my entire life, or how she turned out to be the most ruthless person I'd ever met. And all because of a job. A job I'd worked my whole life to get. It all began about 6 months ago. I'd been working at this small construction firm for the past decade, working my way up from an admin assistant to the project manager, juggling deadlines, site conflicts, budgets, you name it. I was a single mom for most of it, too, raising my daughter Amy all on my own after her dad walked out. So when this opportunity came up in downtown Chicago, I knew I had to go for it. Better pay, better benefits, the chance to help my aging father. It was everything I'd been working for. Now, my friend Marley Haynes had been there for most of my life. We'd been inseparable since high school. Where I was quiet, Marley was always the it girl, loud, a bit dramatic, and effortlessly charming. Her dad was loaded, which meant she could do pretty much whatever she wanted. But despite our differences, we got along like sisters. When Marley found out I'd applied for the senior project manager role at her firm, she encouraged me, even seemed excited. "Oh my God, Nellie, are you serious?" She'd gasped over the phone one evening. "You should absolutely take it. It's just perfect for you." "Yeah, it would be a dream," I admitted, clutching the phone and trying to imagine myself managing high-profile clients in the big city. "But it's a different world there. I'm a small-town girl, March." "Nonsense," Marley snapped, as if I were insulting her personally. "You've got way more experience than half the idiots there. And you've managed everything on your own, Nellie. Just trust me, you'll kill it." So when I got the job, I felt like it was fate. My first day was a blur of new faces, introductions, and trying to figure out how the coffee machine worked. Marley's office was a few floors above mine, so we didn't see each other as often as I'd hoped, but she checked in from time to time. One Thursday morning, about 3 weeks in, she popped by my office with 2 coffees in hand, looking as stylish as ever in her designer blazer. "Hey, Nellie," she chirped, setting the coffee down on my desk. "How's my favorite newbie holding up?" I chuckled, relieved to see a familiar face. "Good. I think. Just trying to keep my head above water, you know?" Marley laughed, flipping her hair back. "Oh, you'll get the hang of it. People around here are a little intense, but you just gotta stay one step ahead." She leaned in, dropping her voice. "Especially with Tannenbaum. That guy's a shark. If he smells blood, he'll rip you apart." I raised an eyebrow. "Thanks for the tip. But anything specific I should watch out for?" "Oh, just, don't mess up. Make sure your slides are perfect, and don't let him catch you unprepared. He eats that stuff for breakfast." I nodded, the nerves kicking in a bit. Marley was always throwing out warnings like that, but it felt strange this time. And the way she said it. It left a weird taste in my mouth. I brushed it off. But then came my first big meeting with Tannenbaum, and Marley was assigned to present alongside me. I'd been preparing all week, double-checking every slide, every note, because I was not about to mess this up. But right as I went to start my part of the presentation, the slides froze. I clicked. And clicked. Nothing. Let me just. I muttered, fiddling with the keyboard, feeling my cheeks start to flush. "Sorry, everyone, I think there's a bit of a technical glitch." Tannenbaum sighed, crossing his arms, and I could feel the other managers shifting in their seats. Marley leaned over, her voice dripping with faux sweetness, and said, just loud enough for everyone to hear, "Didn't you double-check everything beforehand, Janelle?" I felt a hot wave of embarrassment wash over me. "Yes, I did. It was working fine, just a minute ago." Marley shot me this sympathetic smile, the kind that made it look like she was genuinely concerned. But I could tell, this wasn't an accident. She'd somehow messed with the presentation. The meeting was a disaster. Marley took over, smoothing over the parts where I faltered, barely even looking at me as she finished up. I spent the rest of the day hiding in my office, hoping I could avoid the pitying looks from my coworkers. That night, I couldn't sleep. Something gnawed at me, a nagging suspicion. Could she have done something to sabotage me? I hated thinking it, but the pieces didn't add up. The slides had been working fine that morning, and then they suddenly glitched. Right as it was my turn. A few days later, I caught Marley in the office kitchen and decided to bring it up. "Hey, Mar," I started, trying to keep my tone casual. "About the presentation the other day. That was rough, huh?" Marley sipped her coffee, giving me a breezy smile. "Oh, don't worry about it, Nellie. Things happen. Besides, you'll have other chances to prove yourself. It's no big deal." I forced a laugh, though my stomach twisted. "Yeah. But it's strange, isn't it? How it just glitched like that? Marley's face changed for a fraction of a second. She shrugged, flashing a tight-lipped smile. Technical difficulties, you know? That's just the nature of corporate life. I could tell she was lying. I didn't have proof, but I knew. The next week, it happened again. This time, it was an email I'd sent to the client, a big proposal I'd stayed up late working on, only for the file to get corrupted right before it was due. Marley was right there, of course, ready to help, offering to reformat my work and send it along. When I finally cornered her in the break room, I couldn't hold back. Marley, are you sabotaging me? She looked at me, eyes wide, as if I'd accused her of stealing from the company. Janelle. God, don't be so paranoid. What are you saying? I'm saying that every time I have a big project, something just happens to go wrong. And you're always right there, ready to fix it. It's like you're trying to make me look incompetent. Her smile faded, and for a second, she looked genuinely annoyed. Look, Nellie. This isn't small-town Peoria. This is Chicago, and if you want to survive here, you can't expect everyone to hold your hand. That's how you play the game. Play the game? I could hardly believe what I was hearing. Are you kidding me? We're supposed to be friends. Oh, grow up, Nellie, she snapped, her voice hardening. Friends? This isn't a school cafeteria. You think I'm going to give you a free pass just because we used to braid each other's hair? I was speechless. This was Marley, the girl I'd grown up with, and she was talking to me like I was just another obstacle in her way. So you are sabotaging me? I whispered, barely able to keep my voice steady. Marley shrugged, her face an unreadable mask. I'm doing what I need to do to stay ahead. If you can't keep up, that's not my problem. I walked out, too stunned to even respond. I couldn't believe it. Marley, my best friend, practically my sister, had been actively trying to ruin me. And she'd said it like it was no big deal, like it was just another day at the office. I knew I had to do something, but I couldn't just go to HR without proof, so I spent the next few weeks watching her, biding my time, gathering any evidence I could find. I went through every project, every email. Late one night, I found it, an email she'd forwarded to herself, editing my work to make it look like I'd made a mistake before sending it on to our director. The next day, I went straight to HR. I laid out everything I'd found, every email, every messed up project. They were shocked, but they couldn't ignore the proof. A week later, Marley was called into a meeting with HR and Mr. Tannenbaum. I didn't see her afterward, but I heard from a few coworkers that she'd been terminated on the spot. Apparently, she tried to argue, saying it was just part of the job, but they weren't buying it. As she packed up her desk, I ran into her one last time in the lobby. She gave me a look, pure venom in her eyes. Hope you're happy, Nellie, she hissed. I didn't respond. I just walked out, feeling a mix of relief, sadness, and, if I'm honest, a little bit of triumph. That night, I took a long walk along the Chicago River, thinking about everything that had happened. I'd lost a friend, a piece of my past, and a bit of my faith in people. But I'd gained something too, a lesson I would never forget. Sometimes, the people closest to you are the ones who will cut you the deepest. I wish things had ended differently. But Marley had chosen her path, and I had chosen mine. And I'd do it again if it meant protecting myself from people who think friendship is just another game. As I walked along the river that night, the bright lights of Chicago sparkling off the dark water, I thought back to all the years Marley and I had shared. How did we get here? Was it always lurking under the surface, this ruthless ambition? Or had the city, the pressure, and the corporate culture brought out something darker in her? I didn't know anymore. All I knew was that the Marley I'd grown up with was gone, replaced by someone willing to claw her way to the top no matter who she hurt in the process. The next few days at work felt surreal. There was an air of mystery around Marley's departure. No one wanted to ask, but everyone whispered. Colleagues kept giving me strange looks, as if they sensed I had something to do with it, but no one dared to ask. For a while, I tried to avoid people, keeping my head down and diving into work. But it was hard to stay quiet when rumors started swirling. One afternoon, Carly from HR asked me to come by her office. Hey, Janelle, she greeted as I walked in, offering a sympathetic smile. She gestured to the chair across from her desk. I know this probably hasn't been easy on you. I mean, Marley's. Well, she was here for a while. I nodded, unsure of what to say. Yeah. It's been strange. She leaned in, her voice dropping to a whisper. You did the right thing, you know. This wasn't the first time we've had issues with Marley. She's been in and out of our office more times than I can count for overstepping her role. My eyebrows shot up. Really? Carly nodded, sighing. Yep. Most people here are a little afraid of her, if I'm honest. But you stood up to her. That takes guts. I felt a strange mix of relief and pride hearing that. For weeks, I'd felt like the villain in this story, the one who'd taken down a friend for the sake of my career. But hearing that Marley had caused problems for others too. Maybe I wasn't as alone as I thought. As the days turned into weeks, life started to settle into a new normal. Marley's absence left a strange gap in the office dynamics. People seemed more relaxed, and I felt like I could finally breathe. I even began making friends with some of the other project managers. Ben, a soft-spoken guy in his early 40s, often dropped by my office to chat about work, sharing tips on how to navigate Tannenbaum's infamous mood swings. Soon, I found myself part of a small group who went out for lunch together, something I never would have done while Marley was around. One evening, about a month after everything had gone down, I got a call. It was a number I didn't recognize, but I answered anyway. "Janelle? It's Marley." My heart dropped. I hadn't heard from her since she'd been fired, and honestly, I hadn't expected to. I took a deep breath, steadying myself. "Marley, why are you calling?" She was silent for a moment, then finally spoke, her voice low. "Look, I know you probably don't want to hear from me, but I just need to know. Why did you do it? Why did you go to HR?" I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "Why? Marley, you sabotaged me. You went out of your way to make me look incompetent, and for what? So you could get a promotion?" She laughed, a hollow, bitter sound. "It wasn't about the promotion, Nellie. It was about proving that I could do it. I thought you'd understand." "Understand?" I could feel my anger bubbling to the surface. "You sabotaged me at every turn, humiliated me in front of our entire team, and for what? So you could feel superior?" "No, it wasn't like that," she snapped, her voice rising. "You don't get it. I've been fighting to keep my position for years. Do you think I just got handed that job because of my last name? Every time someone new comes in, it's a threat. You were a threat." I was stunned. I was a threat. "So you thought you'd take me down before I even had a chance?" She was quiet for a moment. "I guess. I just didn't think you'd actually fight back. You were always the sweet one, Nellie, always trying to do things the right way. I thought you'd fold." "Well, I didn't fold, Marley. And guess what? I'm still here. And I'm not about to apologize for standing up for myself." I paused, feeling a surge of anger and, oddly, a pang of sadness. "You used to be my friend, Marley. We were practically sisters. And you threw that away for what? Your pride?" "I had to do what I had to do," she replied, her voice steely. We both sat in silence, the weight of everything that had happened hanging in the air. Finally, I broke the silence. "Look, Marley, I don't know what you're going through, and I don't know what made you think this was the right way to handle it. But I do know that if you're willing to hurt people who care about you to get what you want, you'll always be alone." She didn't respond, and I wondered if my words had hit a nerve. I heard a soft sigh on the other end of the line. "Maybe you're right," she murmured. "But I had to try." With that, she hung up, and I sat there, phone in hand, feeling the finality of it all. The next morning, I walked into the office, feeling a strange sense of peace. Marley's ghost seemed to linger in the walls, in the whispers of the few people who still talked about her departure, but I knew I'd made the right choice. I'd stood up for myself, something I'd spent too many years avoiding. I'd finally chosen my own well-being over someone else's manipulation, and it felt freeing. In the weeks and months that followed, life went on. I threw myself into my work, landing a few new clients and getting a big project approved by Tannenbaum himself. My team even started calling me the Fixer, a little nickname for my knack for solving problems without the drama. The irony wasn't lost on me. Sometimes I think about Marley, wonder if she ever found another job or if she's still out there, trying to claw her way up in some other firm. Part of me feels bad for her, wondering if she'll ever realize that true success doesn't come from trampling others. But I can't dwell on it. I've moved forward, and she's a part of my past now. One Friday night, months after everything happened, I was sitting with Ben and a few other colleagues at a bar down the street, laughing over stories from work, when Ben raised his glass to Janelle, the one who took down a corporate queen and lived to tell the tale. Everyone laughed and clinked glasses, but I just shook my head, smiling. "To standing up for yourself," I corrected, raising my glass. "No matter what." As I sat there, surrounded by my new friends and the buzz of the city around me, I felt a sense of closure. Marley had taken a lot from me, but she'd also given me something priceless, the realization that I deserved more. That I deserved to be valued, respected, and unafraid to stand my ground. In the end, that lesson was worth more than any friendship.